topic is a study on the attitude of students towards environment-based model for teaching learning botany at higher secondary level. Presentation by Dr. Renuka, Sonny, Principal, Kerala University College of Teacher Education, Kulathummal, Kollam, Kerala, India. Education shall be directed to the full development of the human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. According to the International Union for the Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, environment education is a process of recognizing nature and clarifying concepts in order to develop skills and attitude necessary to understand and appreciate the interrelatedness among man, his culture and his biophysical surroundings. Environmental education also entails practice in decision making and self-formulating of a code of behavior about issues concerning environmental quality. Environment education is concerned with the dynamic relationship between man and nature. It aims at improving the environmental quality. Environmental education may comprise three linked components. Education about the environment, that is knowledge. Education for the environment, that is values, attitude, positive action. Education in or through the environment, a resource. The Minister of Environment and Forest formulated the policy to create awareness among all sections of society through national development awareness campaign, eco-clubs, production of audio-visual and print materials, exhibitions, camps, etc. A large number of NGOs, educational institutions and other organizations are actively involved in this program through padayatras, rallies, public meetings, folk dance, street plays, seminars, competitions and so on. Outdoor learning provides chances for the active participation of children in the learning situations and permits scope for activity, freedom to move, to explore and to experiment, which in turn will contribute directly to the discovery learning and afford chances for grasping the true spirit of science. Need and significance of the study. Our land endowed with the abundance of environmental resources, particularly plant life. Even though sufficient environmental resources are available in and around school premises, it is not adequately used by the teachers. We should provide direct experience to students which help in the interactions of the environment. Environment-based learning follows the principle of learning by doing, learning by enjoying and learning by problem solving. Through this model, process skill, open-mindedness, self-learning, divergent thinking, independent thinking, curiosity, observation power, cooperative skill, problem solving skill and interest in inquiry can be developed among students. Within and around each school are hundreds of things worthy of study resources, far more valuable than are available in the most expensively equipped laboratories. Hence, a systematic study of the environment is necessary for students in schools and colleges. Statement of the problem. A study on the attitude of students towards environment-based model for teaching learning botany at higher secondary level. Keywords: attitude, environment-based model, higher secondary level. Objectives of the study: to compare the attitude of students of environment-based model group towards environment-based model for teaching learning botany at higher secondary level +1 for total and subsamples based on following variables: gender and management. Hypothesis of the study: the attitude of students of environment-based model group towards environment-based model in teaching learning botany. There will be significant difference between boys and girls of EBM group with regard to overall attitude towards environment. There will be significant difference between students of EBM group in government and aided schools with regard to overall attitude towards environment. There will be significant difference between boys and girls of EBM group with regard to attitude towards environment-based model. There will be significant difference between students of EBM group, government and aided schools with regard to attitude towards environment-based model. There will be significant difference between boys and girls of EBM group with regard to attitude towards outside classroom activities. There will be significant difference between students of EBM group in government and aided schools with regard to attitude towards outside classroom activities. There will be significant difference between boys and girls of EBM group with regard to attitude towards environmental protection. There will be significant difference between the students of EBM group in government and aided schools with regard to attitude towards environmental protection. There will be significant difference between boys and girls of EBM group with regard to attitude towards co-curricular activities related to environment. There will be significant difference between the students of EBM group in government and aided schools with regard to attitude towards co-curricular activities related to environment. Scope and delimitation of the study. Scope. Environment-based model helps the students to retain what is learned for a long time and permit earlier transfer of learning. The student should discover everything and learn from his own observation and experience from the environment. It is hoped that finding of the study will help the teachers to understand the effectiveness and necessity of the application of environment-based model for teaching botany. This study will help to improve the quality of teaching learning process. Delimitation of the study. The study conducted has been conceived in terms of single level education, that is the higher secondary level. Due to practical difficulties involved in conducting the experimental study, the experimental teaching was limited to 4 higher secondary schools of Tirunelveli district. The investigator could not include all the botany topic at the higher secondary level due to time limit. The study was confined to only +1 students of Tirunelveli district. The study was confined to schools which have good environmental resources. Method. Normative survey cum experimental method for the study. Sample 105 students, 50 students from experimental group of Government Vocational Higher Secondary School Kulathummal and 55 students from Concordia Lourdes Higher Secondary School Kudappanakunnu of the study. Tool. Attitude scale. An attitude scale was prepared and administered to compare the attitude of higher secondary school students +1 towards the environment-based model for teacher learning botany at higher secondary level. N is 105. Methodology. The effectiveness of environment-based model was tested by comparing the achievement score, pre-test and post-test scores of treatment group based upon the instructional objectives, knowledge, understanding, application and skill. The comparison of the attitude of students towards environment-based model for teaching learning botany at higher secondary level based on gender and type of management were assessed. Procedure adopted. The experimental design adopted in the present investigation was pre-test, post-test, parallel group design. In this study, the methods of teaching were environment-based model and lecture method. The investigator selected students of +1 from 4 higher secondary schools in Tirunelveli district. These schools were selected on the basis of availability of environmental resources in and around the school premises. Out of 4 schools selected for the study, 2 schools were exposed to environment-based model, 1 class from each school, while 2 schools were exposed to lecture method. After selecting the schools for experimental study, the investigator made necessary arrangement with the authorities of the school for conducting the experiment. The topic selected for the experimental study was plant families of angiosperm such as Malvaceae, Fabaceae, Rubiaceae and Asteraceae. Care was taken to give due representations to variables like gender and management of schools. The groups are matched separately for the following variables, namely intelligence, pre-test, achievement scores, gender and type of management, etc. After administration of the pre-test, the control group was exposed to lecture method and experimental group was exposed to environment-based model. While conducting classes, care was taken to give equal time for both the groups. 12 hours were required for completing the experimental procedure in each group for the topic plant families. Exposition to environment-based model. The investigator, along with the students of environment-based group, went to the school premises, selected for observations and detailed study of plant families such as Malvaceae, Fabaceae, Rubiaceae and Asteraceae. The students are encouraged to observe and collect plants from the locality. Opportunity was given to classify the collected plants on the basis of observed differences and similarities. The students were encouraged to develop terms, concepts and principles from the collected data through observation, classification, identification, analysis and interpretation of data, discussion, reference, etc. Suitable activities, questions, problem-solving situations, clues were provided for the level of attainment of concept. Opportunities were provided for direct learning experiences, discussions, activities, dissections of plant, draw diagrams, preparation of list of plants, etc. Exposition to lecture method. The treatment group was exposed to lecture method. The experimental topic, that is plant families, were taught by the investigator with the help of examples, illustrations, charts and drawings. At the end of each class, follow-up activities were also given. Attitude scale for higher secondary school students +1. An attitude scale was prepared for comparing the attitude of students towards environment-based model for teaching learning botany at higher secondary level +1. Since there was no ready-made tool available to measure the attitude of students towards the various aspects of environment-based model, the investigator developed an attitude scale of the Likert type. Likert type of attitude scale was preferred as its construction is simple and easy. A list of 90 statements, favorable and unfavorable statements almost equal in number, were prepared and it was given to expert for criticism and suggestion. As per suggestions received, some items are deleted and others are modified. Thus, an edited scale consisting of 80 items was selected, in which 40 positive statements and 40 negative statements are included. Statements prepared were related to the following aspects: overall attitude towards environment, attitude towards environment-based model, attitude towards outside classroom activities, attitude towards environmental protections, attitude towards co-curricular activities related to environment. The draft form was administered on a sample of 103 higher secondary school students +1. The respondents were requested to answer each item in the attitude scale in terms of their own agreement or disagreement by entering a tick mark in any one of the 5 columns marked as strongly agree, agree, undecided, disagree, and strongly disagree. The scoring was done using conventional procedures as indicated below. Positive response: strongly agree 5 marks, agree 4 marks, undecided 3 marks, disagree 2 marks, and strongly disagree 1 mark. Negative response: strongly agree 1 mark, agree 2 marks, undecided 3 marks, disagree 4 marks, and strongly disagree 5 marks. Out of 103 response sheets, 100 were selected for item analysis. The total scores obtained for each student was calculated by summating the score for individual item. The 100 response sheets were arranged in the descending order of total scores. The top 27% in the group and bottom 27% in the group were used for item analysis. The scores obtained for each item in both the groups are used for calculating the discriminating power of each item. Items with the high discriminating power were selected for the final attitude scale. The item having T values equal or above 1.75 was selected for the final scale. The 68 items were selected for the final scale. Validity and reliability of attitude scale. The attitude scale was developed very carefully following the principles of attitude scale. Besides this, the face validity of attitude scale was ascertained by showing the prepared attitude scale to experts for their assessment. The reliability of the final attitude scale was assessed using the split half technique. The reliability of the test was 0.81, indicating that the attitude scale prepared has a high reliability. Statistical techniques employed. Attitude scale was used to compare the attitude of students towards EBM based on the subsamples, that is gender and type of management. Analysis and interpretation of data. Comparisons of attitude of student towards environment-based model in teaching learning botany at higher secondary level. The details of analysis are given under the following head: comparison of the overall attitude towards environment of samples based on gender and type of management. Comparison of the attitude towards environment-based model of samples based on gender and type of management. Comparison of the attitude towards outside classroom activities of the samples based on gender and type of management. Comparison of the attitude towards environmental protection of the sample based on gender and type of management. Comparison of the attitude towards co-curricular activities related to environment of samples based on the gender and type of management. Comparison of the overall attitude towards environment of the samples based on the gender and type of management. Gender: boys and girls subsample. Type of management: government and aid. The critical ratio obtained for the gender groups are not differ significantly at 0.01 level, showing that boys and girls of EBM groups are not significantly different in overall attitude towards environment. Critical ratio 0.66. P is greater than 0.0. This finding shows that boys and girls of EBM groups have same overall attitude towards environment. The critical ratio obtained for the type of management groups are significant at 0.01 level, showing that the students of EBM group in government school and aided school differ significantly in the overall attitude towards environment. Critical ratio 2.72. P is less than 0.01. A close observation of the mean score shows that the students of EBM group in aided school possess higher overall attitude towards environment compared to students of government school. The above finding shows that the students of EBM group in aided school get better opportunities to acquire the information about the environment from various sources. Tenability of hypothesis. The analysis revealed that there is no significant difference between treatment group, boys and girls of EBM group with regard to overall attitude towards environment. Hence, the hypothesis formulators in this context, H11 is rejected. The analysis revealed that there is significant difference between treatment group, students of EBM group in government and aided school with regard to overall attitude towards environment. Hence, the hypothesis formulated in this context, H12 is accepted. Comparison of the attitude towards environment based on model of the samples based on gender and type of management. Gender, boys and girls, type of management, government and aided. The critical ratio obtained for the gender groups are not differ significantly at 0.01 level, showing that boys and girls of EBM groups are not significantly in attitude towards environment based model. Critical ratio 0.97, P is greater than 0.01. This finding shows that attitude towards environment-based model is same as boys and girls of EBM groups. The critical ratio obtained for the type of management groups are significant at 0.0 level, showing that the students of EBM group in government and aided school differ significantly in attitude towards environment-based model. Critical ratio is 3.85, P is less than 0.0. It shows that the students of aided school possess a higher attitude towards environment-based model compared to students of government school. The above finding shows that the students of aided school get more exposure to environmental experiences compared to students of government school. Tenability hypothesis. Analysis revealed that there is no significant difference between treatment group, boys and girls of EBM group with regard to attitude towards environment-based model. Hence, the hypothesis formulators in this context, H13 is rejected. The analysis revealed that there is significant difference between the treatment group, the students of EBM group in government and aided schools with regard to attitude towards environment-based model. Hence, the hypothesis formulators in this context, H14 is accepted. Comparison of the attitude towards outside classroom activities or samples based on gender and type of management. Gender, boys and girls, type of management, government and aided. The critical ratio obtained for the gender groups are significant at 0.0 level, showing that boys and girls of EBM groups differ significantly in the attitude towards outside classroom activities. Critical ratio 3.91, P is less than 0.0. It shows that boys of EBM groups possess higher attitude towards outside classroom activities compared to girls of EBM group. The above finding shows that boys of EBM group get more opportunities than girls of EBM group in participating outside classroom activities. The critical ratio obtained for the type of management groups are significant at 0.05 level, showing that students of EBM group in government school and aided school differ significantly in attitude towards outside classroom activities. Critical ratio 2.25, P is less than 0.05. It shows that the students of EBM group in aided school possess higher attitude towards outside classroom activities compared to students of EBM groups in government school. The above finding shows that the students of EBM group in aided school get more opportunities than the students of EBM group in government school in participating outside classroom activities. Tenability hypothesis. The analysis revealed that there is no significant difference between treatment group, boys and girls of EBM groups with regard to attitude towards outside classroom activities. Hence, the hypothesis formulators in this context, H15 is rejected. The analysis revealed that there is significant difference between treatment group, students of EBM group in government and aided schools with regard to attitude towards outside classroom activities. Hence, the hypothesis formulators in this context, H16 is accepted. Comparison of the attitude towards environmental protection of samples based on gender and the type of management. The critical ratio obtained for the gender groups are significant at 0.05 level, showing that boys and girls of EBM group differ significantly in the attitude towards environmental protection. Critical ratio 2.5, P is less than 0.05. It shows that girls of EBM group possess higher attitude towards environmental protection compared to boys of EBM group. The above finding shows that girls of EBM group give more importance towards environmental protection than boys of EBM group. The critical ratio obtained for the type of management groups are not differ significantly at 0.01 level, showing that the students of EBM group in government and aided schools do not differ significantly in the attitude towards environmental protection. Critical ratio is 0.97. P is greater than 0.01. It shows that the students of EBM group in government and aided schools do not differ in attitude towards environmental protection. Tenability of hypothesis. The analysis revealed that there is a significant difference between treatment group, boys and girls of EBM group with regard to attitude towards environmental protection. Hence, the hypothesis formulators in this context, H17 is accepted. The analysis revealed that there is no significant difference between treatment group, students of EBM group in government and aided schools with regard to attitude towards environmental protection. Hence, the hypothesis formulators in this context, H18 is rejected. Comparison of the attitude towards co-curricular activities related to environment of the sample based on gender and management. The critical ratio obtained for the gender groups are not significantly at 0.0 level, showing that boys and girls of EBM group do not differ significantly in the attitude towards co-curricular activities related to environment. Critical ratio is 0.15, P is greater than 0.01. This finding shows that boys and girls of EBM group have same attitude towards co-curricular activities related to environment. The critical ratio obtained for the type of management groups are not significant at 0.0 level, showing that the students of EBM group in government and aided schools do not differ significantly in their attitude towards co-curricular activities related to environment. Critical ratio is 0.86. P is greater than 0.0. It shows that the students of EBM group in government and aided school have same attitude towards co-curricular activities related to environment. Tenability of hypothesis. The analysis revealed that there is no significant difference between treatment group, boys and girls of EBM group with regard to attitude towards co-curricular activities related to environment. Hence, the hypothesis formulators in this context, H19 is rejected. The analysis revealed that there is no significant difference between the treatment group, students of EBM group in government and aided schools with regard to attitude towards co-curricular activities related to environment. Hence, the hypothesis formulators in this context, H110 is rejected. Main findings. Comparison of attitude of students towards environment-based models in teaching, learning, botany and higher secondary level. Comparison of the overall attitude towards environment of the sample based on gender and type of management. Boys and girls of EBM group have same attitude towards environment in overall. The students of EBM group in aided school possess higher attitude towards environment in overall compared to the students of EBM group in government school. Comparison of the attitude towards environment-based model of samples based on gender and type of management. Boys and girls of EBM group have same attitude towards environment-based model. The students of EBM group in aided school possess higher attitude towards environment-based model compared to students of EBM group in government school. Comparison of the attitude towards outside classroom activities of the samples based on gender and type of management. Boys of EBM group possess higher attitude towards outside classroom activities compared to girls of EBM group. The students of EBM group in aided school possess higher attitude towards outside classroom activities compared to students of EBM group in government school. Comparison of attitude towards environmental protection of samples based on gender and type of management. Girls of EBM group possess higher attitude towards environmental protection compared to boys of EBM groups. The students of EBM groups in government and aided school have same attitude towards environmental protection. Comparison of the attitude towards co-curricular activities related to environment of the sample based on the gender and type of management. Boys and girls of EBM group have same attitude towards co-curricular activities related to environment. The students of EBM group in government school and aided school have same attitude towards co-curricular activities related to environment. Suggestions for further research. Some suggestions for further research were presented below. The study was effective in learning plant families in botany, and similar studies can be conducted on other topics in botany. The study has been confined to higher secondary level, that is +1 level only. Hence, similar studies can be conducted in primary, secondary, vocational, higher secondary and college level. These are some of the bibliographies of the study. Thank you.